Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti. And tonight we have a very special guest on the podcast. He is a second generation wrestler. You may know him from Major League Wrestling as part of the Hart Foundation. It is Brian Pillman Jr. Brian, it is an honor for you to join us here on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. You know me, just every day I'm getting after it.
I want to start this interview by talking about the lots of parallels between you and your father, Brian Pillman. First being your training, actually. Your dad trained in Calgary at the Hart Dungeon, while you trained by Lance Storm, who also trained at the Hart Dungeon. So I just have to ask, what made you decide Lance Storm for your training?
Well, you know, you really hit the nail on the head there. It was partially just part of my respect for the Canadian wrestling and then how it all began there. And, you know, I knew I'd have some allies in Canada with the Hart family. So to me, it was all about paying respect to them. But also I did ask around, and my calculations told me that was the best place to train. So it's it was a pretty simple choice from there to go up to Lance's and perform and get better there.
Well, I do want to bring this up, too, with Lance Storm. He brings in a lot of guys out of his school that end up in the NXT Performance Center. What do you think is the reason behind that?
I want to say that it's not, you know, you don't always just get a free, I don't think you get a free, you know, I don't think you get a free pass to the NXT to train with Lance. You know, it's definitely not one of those things. I just think there's a correlation between, you know, people that want to work hard and people that want to go all the way to Canada to train to be a wrestler, you know what I'm saying? So it's like those people, they went to Lance's because they wanted the best opportunity, they wanted the best training because they're the hardest working, you know, and they want their hard work to pay off. So not only that, but he's a good judge of talent. So if he does put in a word for him and into the business, and then that's a lot to put on your resume to say, okay, Lance, you know, okayed me as a solid worker, you know, so something like that along those lines. But yeah, it's definitely not like, oh, you just go there and then you go straight to NXT, you know what I mean? So
one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, I know leading into your training, I think you had mentioned in a recent podcast that you were doing a lot of yoga and a lot of CrossFit to kind of get in really good shape prior to that. How often are you working out now? Are you working out or trying to keep it as consistent as possible, being on the road and all of that?
Yeah. You never want to work out less than 3 days a week. You know, you always want to be on your body, always training, whether it's flexibility or, you know, maybe you do a kickboxing class here or there. You know, you're always plan one event to train yourself in, and that's just part of our business. It's a very lateral athletic, you know, business. So you can't be short on your flexibility. You can't be short on your acrobatics. You know, maybe you go into a gymnastics gym for the day and that's your workout, you know, something like that. You know, you're always constantly thinking and innovating different ways to manipulate your body to look the way you want it and to perform the way you want it. So,
you know, a lot of people, you know, in today's wrestling world are in much better shape, but they're not that bodybuilder shape that, you know, we saw in the late 80s and early 90s. And then we see some guys that don't even look like they've hit the gym once, but are able to do some amazing things in the ring. Do you think that going to the gym gives you an extra boost towards your wrestling career than someone that may be good in the ring, but not quite physically in shape?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about how you're remembered, and if people, you know, they might remember the fancy things you did in the ring and all that, but if they don't have a good image of who you are, what you stand for, and that determination to be someone that's physically fit and charismatic, and it's like the spectrum. You gotta have all three things going for you in the ring. You know, a lot of those guys don't realize that they don't have as much of a presence as a being, you know, in that ring. So. But, you know, it's different for everybody. Some people are super athletic and they don't have to train gymnastics. They don't have to actually go and learn. You know, they already know how, like, their body just knows how to do backflips. Maybe they did them as a kid, you know. So some people are just more naturally inclined to do certain things in the ring, so they don't have to work as hard to begin with. So going to the gym and training is some foreign concept to them, you know. So it's like, the people that are going to work hard at one thing are probably going to work hard at multiple things. And you know, if you're a guy that's in the gym every day and you have half of a brain, I think it's possible for you to go and learn how to do moves and learn how to do all these other things because you got the work ethic and you're willing to do it. You know, that's just what separates the cream from the crap, you know?
Absolutely.
Going back to Lance Storm's training here, one thing that I think a lot of people have lost perspective on in professional wrestling is the ring psychology, where today's great wrestling matches are more about the flips and the flops and the suicide dives and not necessarily the storytelling. And I think Lance Storm, from what I've seen from his prior students and guys like yourself, he tries to teach more of the storytelling inside the ring. Can you go more about how he teaches that in training?
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, if you're not going to go out there and tell a story, that it's like, what's the point? You know what I mean? So we were definitely taught that style of wrestling. We were definitely taught the style of wrestling that you don't need a promo to build it up. You know what I mean? You don't need all this backstory. You know, it's two guys going in there, and that's all psychology is. It's who wants to win. You know what I mean? You want to win, so you do certain things that somebody that would want to win a match with you. You know, it's not that hard. People overthink it. All you need to know about psychology is that that's the reason why we do what we do. Why do we run the ropes? Why do we do this? Why do we do that? So that's really the basis of the schooling and things. It's not super rocket science. You know, you can always get into always start your story different than another story. You know, you can always change things up, and people are usually very receptive to that. They're very receptive to that style of wrestling. You know, nobody wants to go out there and watch a movie about nothing. You know what I mean? If you go watch a Transformers movie and it's all CGI and there's no real plot, you know, then you're just going to be like, what the hell, you know? So everybody's always receptive to a good story, and that's the premise of wrestling as we know it. So,
and I know one of the things that you've touched on before as well is just being able to kind of read the crowd. So how much of that actually plays into, kind of leading up to the matches? So are you a guy that really kind of likes to work with the other guys beforehand and plan the match, or do you just really kind of like to go out there and call it on the fly based on what the crowd's reacting to?
Yeah, you know, everybody's different, and like I said, it depends on the crowd. You know, different people are receptive to different styles, and yeah, you know, it might be like, okay, this is a high-level area, this is on TV, you know, this is on TV, it's got to be set up a certain way, we can't miss the time cue, and this, that, and the other. Or, you know, you're down in the South, and, you know, all the rules are out the window, and, you know, nobody gives a damn if you work the hard cam, you know, so you can just have a little bit of fun out there and just beat each other up, you know, so it's all about what you're aiming to do and what your boss wants out of you. I think that's the ultimate factor in that question you asked me.
Well, we actually got to see you in person wrestle at Northeast Wrestling for their Over the Top show before Royal Rumble on that weekend. And this was actually one of the shows where Cody and Hangman Page invaded some of these indie shows. And then the following week, you were on Being the Elite talking to the Young Bucks. So I have to ask, did you get a chance to talk to these guys? And if so, did they give you any pointers, or did they say anything specifically to you?
Yeah, you know, it's one thing that I'm starting to develop is the relationship with those guys. I would say the relationship with AEW and the Elite is it's still in its infancy. You know, I see Cody every now and then, and you know, I'll be down in Vegas. So you know, I'm packing my bags. I'm going down to Vegas, so we'll see what happens. That's all I can say. Yep. But it was very nice meeting those guys, and they're going to be on some different shows with me coming up. So, you know, we're starting to develop a talking relationship with them. So
very cool. So you might have already answered my next question then. We actually did a couple episodes on our podcast called the All Elite Wrestling Draft. We kind of speculated which guys would be ending up in All Elite Wrestling. And in our comment section, your name came up a lot. So if Cody and the Bucks came up to you and asked you to join AEW, would you consider it?
Yeah, I think that's a great stepping stone company as far as where I'm at right now, going from MLW to AEW. I think that's a realistic goal. You know, I don't know about the timing of that and what would be the ideal timing, but I know that that's definitely a possibility. So,
have you talked to MJF and the Lucha Brothers about that? Because I know they work with MLW as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it just comes down to what they've got left on their end and what I'm working with and the contract that I've signed, and everything's different with everybody. So it's not as clean cut as everybody would think it to be.
And what does that mean for you, obviously, to see kind of the current lay of the land with just kind of the wrestling, I guess the wrestling landscape? So obviously AEW seems to be like it's going to be a legitimate thing, but it also seems like, you don't necessarily have to go to the WWE to be successful with the resurgence of kind of the independent scene and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So do you as a wrestler, do you guys notice that and get excitement from that?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's like you don't have to really go anywhere to be successful. I'm very successful with MLW right now, and everything's working out with them. I really enjoy the product that I'm working for, the team I have, the production value. So I'm in no rush, I guess, so to speak, to jump anywhere to any other companies right now. I'm just kind of enjoying myself and my development into the. Like I said. I've only been wrestling 1 year. It's my first year, so to see how far I've broken in at this point, I think we're on a good track. I don't think anybody's had a better first year than me, so it is what it is. I'm waiting to see what happens. I'm excited. I'm just as excited as you guys are, I'm sure. So
absolutely, very excited. Have a couple more questions before we let you go here. I want to talk about your MLW experience. You were the Rookie of the Year last year, so yes, a great year for you in your first year. And you formed this faction, the New Era Hart Foundation, with Teddy Hart and Davey Boy Smith. So I have to ask, who came up with the idea of the faction, and how did it really come to fruition in Major League Wrestling?
I can't say who originally came up with it, but I know that I was contacted to be a part of it, and the rest is history. It developed organically. It was something that MLW had cooked up, I'm sure. So whoever's most in charge up there, or whoever had the idea, I can't pinpoint exactly who that was, but definitely a great company to work for. They're very creative in their department, bringing in a lot of nostalgia and still generating that very serious match hype. So
there's a rumor going around that the Hart Foundation tag team, Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, and Jimmy Hart, their manager, are going to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. Do you have any comment as to that? I know your dad was part of the faction, but the tag team is going in. So what are your thoughts on the tag team rumored to be going in?
Yeah, I think it's great that the Hart Foundation will be recognized. Whether it's Owen and Anvil, that's fine. I don't think there's any rush to get the entire group in there. It's one of those things that the fans will enjoy it either way, right? So
fire these off quick. Dream opponent. And most important thing that Lance Storm taught you?
My dream opponent, I'd say, is probably, at this point, Chris Jericho before he gets too old to wrestle. And then what was the other thing?
The most important thing that Lance Storm taught you.
Oh, yeah. Wrestling is a 24/7 job. That's what he taught me.
Thank you again for the time, Brian. It was a great interview. We appreciate it. And hopefully we can have you on again. Maybe next time you're in Connecticut for Northeast Wrestling, we can meet you in person and do this in person.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Brian.
Have a good one.
Thank you again, Brian Pillman Jr., for joining us on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. If we have him on again, let us know what you want us to ask him in the comments below. Make sure you like this video, share it all over social media, and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. We're trying to hit 5,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling, Double or Nothing. For Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti, and thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble.